July 14, 1572. Edinburgh's High Street thrums with an unprecedented crowd gathered to witness a spectacle of unparalleled brutality. At its center, a 29-year-old man is bound to a torture post. His hands are seared to blackened ruin by molten iron. His flesh is ripped away by red-hot pincers. 4 horses stand ready to tear him limb from limb while he still breathes. His name is Robert Calder, and just 10 days ago he committed a crime that shook the foundations of Scotland. He assassinated John Knox, the fiery heart of the Scottish Reformation. Who was this young man who became Scotland's most reviled assassin? How did a Catholic zealot infiltrate the inner circle of a Protestant titan? And why did his execution become a grotesque pageant of vengeance in 16th century Europe? To unravel Robert Calder's deadly obsession, we must step into the crucible of Scotland's religious wars. Born in 1543 in Stirling, under the shadow of Catholic Scotland, Robert grew up in a family fiercely loyal to the old faith. The Protestant Reformation sweeping through Europe was to them a blasphemy, a wound to Christ's church. Jesuit tutors filled young Robert's mind, seen with visions of divine retribution, preaching that Protestant leaders like John Knox, whose sermons fueled Scotland's break from Rome, were heretics destined for hell. Knox, a former priest turned reformer, was no mere man to Catholic fanatics. He was a devil incarnate unraveling God's order. In 1567, the Catholic Queen Mary's fall and the rise of Protestant regents inflamed tensions. By 1570, a papal bull excommunicating Protestant leaders offered a divine mandate: kill Knox and earn eternal salvation. For Robert, this was a sacred call. The promise of spiritual glory and earthly reward, a rumored 20,000 crowns from Catholic allies, ignited his fervor. He began plotting, studying Knox's movements, his sermons, and St. Giles's Cathedral and the routines of his guards. For 2 years, Robert crafted his deception. He adopted the alias Thomas Weir, a Protestant convert from Perth, mastering Reformed theology, to blend into Knox's circle. He attended sermons, distributed pamphlets, and charmed minor nobles with tales of his conversion. His performance was flawless, his patience diabolical. By 1572, he gained the trust of Knox's allies, claiming to bear critical intelligence on Catholic plots. This ruse secured him a meeting with Knox himself at Greyfriars Kirk. July 4th, 1572. John Knox, age 58, rises in Edinburgh, his frame worn by years of preaching and exile. His thunderous sermons have made him Scotland's spiritual lodestar, but also a target. That morning, reports of Catholic conspiracies swirl, and Thomas Weir claims vital information. Knox, ever open to those aiding the cause, agrees to meet him. Robert arrives at Greyfriars carrying a satchel said to hold documents. Hidden inside are 2 loaded arquebuses, his instruments of divine judgment. The meeting is private, with only a scribe and a guard present. Robert speaks eloquently of Catholic troop movements, engaging Knox's keen mind. As the reformer leans over a table to review a map, Robert seizes his moment. For God and the true church, he cries, firing a shot into Knox's chest. The bullet tears through his heart. Before the guard can react, a second shot ensures death. Robert bolts for the door, but his escape is clumsy. Guards swarm, tackling him in the Kirk's courtyard as he stumbles with a twisted ankle. The assassination unleashes a tempest of rage. Knox was not just a preacher, but the soul of Scotland's Reformation, revered as its father. Crowds flood Edinburgh's streets, howling for vengeance. Robert's interrogation under torture reveals his true identity and fanatical motives. Unrepentant, he claims divine sanction, fueling public fury. The authorities resolve that his death will be no swift end, but a meticulously cruel spectacle to deter future assassins and sate the people's wrath. July 14th, 1572. Dawn breaks over Edinburgh's High Street, now a stage for retribution. Thousands converge: merchants, farmers, nobles drawn to witness the assassin's demise. A platform holds glowing pincers, branding irons, and ropes for quartering. 4 horses wait tethered to chains. Robert, dragged from his cell, faces the crowd with defiant prayers in Latin proclaiming martyrdom. The execution begins with molten irons searing his hands, his screams piercing the air as the stench of charred flesh spreads. Pincers tear away his skin, each rip drawing roars from the crowd, a blend of horror and vengeance. The torture, orchestrated with chilling precision, stretches for hours, keeping Robert alive for the final act. Ropes bind his limbs to the horses. At the signal, they charge, stretching his body until, with a sickening crack, his limbs tear free. His torso, still pulsing with life for agonizing moments, collapses in a pool of blood. The crowd erupts, justice served in brutal spectacle. Robert's death does not end his story. His remains, displayed as a warning, are secretly revered by Catholic extremists as relics. Yet Knox's martyrdom galvanizes the Protestant cause. His disciple James Melville takes up the mantle, and the Reformation surges forward. Catholic hopes of reclaiming Scotland falter as Knox's death cements his legacy as a symbol of resistance. Ironically, Robert's crime grants him a dark immortality. Chroniclers document his execution in vivid detail, etched into Scottish lore through ballads and engravings. His story becomes a cautionary tale of fanaticism's cost. Over 450 years later, Robert Calder's act of religious terror resonates, a grim reminder of how zeal can twist devotion into violence. His tortured hands, burned flesh-torn body ripped apart stands not as martyrdom, but as a warning: when hatred supplants humanity, both assassin and victim pay a terrible price. Video conclusion. Visual. Slow pan across Edinburgh's High Street, bloodstains fading into cobblestones. Cut to a fiery sermon in St. Giles's Cathedral, then a quiet grave. Voiceover: Robert Calder sought divine glory but found only horror. His crime and punishment echo as a warning: fanaticism destroys all it touches. Music swells, fading to silence. A lasting lesson. Robert Calder's tale teaches us the peril of unchecked zeal. When faith becomes a weapon, it blinds us to shared humanity, breeding violence that scars both perpetrator and victim. True strength lies in compassion, not vengeance, urging us to seek understanding over division, lest we repeat the bloody cycle of fanaticism. Robert Calder was not judged by justice alone, but by the very fanaticism he embraced. He believed himself an instrument of God, yet in the end he became a tragic symbol of what happens when hatred wears the mask of faith. His story reminds us, when belief turns into obsession and faith becomes a weapon, it spares no one, neither the sinner nor the saint. Vengeance may satisfy rage, but only compassion and understanding can heal the wounds of history. We cannot rewrite the past, but we can learn from it so that no more lives are lost in the name of righteousness.